This is the 2006 season recap. Coach Otis Mayfield and the Portland Pilots finished the 2006 season with a 25-6 overall record, and it was an absolutely historic season for the Portland Pilots basketball program. The greatest season in program history, I would say. Portland entering this season did not have much expectations according to the experts. 2005, Portland finished with a 15-15 overall record, but really struggled in conference play. Last time Portland had a winning record overall entering the season was back in 1998. Last time Portland had a winning record in conference was back in 1995. So experts were not predicting much success for Portland, especially in the West Coast Conference. But we got ourselves off to a strong start. Had ourselves some nice wins, non-conference play, and then once conference play started, we got ourselves on a tear. We had a huge win on the road against Gonzaga, an absolute marquee victory for us. Gonzaga was able to beat us on our home court later, but we finished conference play with a 13-1 conference record, and that gave Portland their first ever regular season conference title in program history. We reached a ranking higher than Portland had ever reached before in program history, and we went into the conference tournament feeling like we had a good shot at getting an at-large bid, even if we weren't able to get the automatic bid by winning the conference tournament. We were able to get past St. Mary's in the quarterfinal, then the semifinal, an absolute classic game against San Diego. We fought our way back, able to hit a game-winning shot, a buzzer beater, just milliseconds left when the ball was released. Got ourselves a 2-point victory, a thriller to move on to the championship, where we took on Gonzaga, the host, on their home court, big favorites. Gonzaga, of course, had absolutely dominated West Coast Conference in recent memories, but we really frustrated Gonzaga in that one, played a great game, and upset the Bulldogs on their home court for the second time this season, winning the conference tournament championship as well as the regular season title. A thrilling tournament run there through the West Coast Conference, and we got ourselves the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament, just the third ever appearance for Portland basketball in the NCAA tournament. We got ourselves a 5 seed, got matched up against 12 seed Manhattan, who has had a lot more NCAA tournament experience in recent years. They've had success as well, and this was a great ball game, no doubt about that. It was back and forth, a nail biter all the way down to the finish. We were able to fight back in the closing minutes, and we had ourselves a 2-point lead. We were not able to get a basket. Manhattan took it down court trailing by 2, and they had a huge moment. They got fouled on a jump shot, and they were able to make it. They hit the free throw, and we didn't take a timeout. We didn't take a timeout in the semifinal when we went down and got the buzzer beater game winner. We decided we liked our chances, just push it down court and give ourselves one last run forward, and a challenge shot, just weren't able to get it to go, and we ended up losing it 69-68. Absolutely heart-aching way to lose. There were tears. We were Portland Pilot players laying on the court in pain there after the heartbreaking loss. But we left it all up there in the court. No one could say anything less than that. Gave it all of our effort, and that's part of one shining moment. That's part of March Madness. Sometimes there's glory of defeat, but there's heartache and glory of victory, but there's heartache and defeat as well. There's always two sides of it. An incredible run here for Portland in this 2006 season. A lot of highs, a lot of firsts, a lot of history made for this Portland Pilot team in 2006. The NCAA tournament has finished, so let's get caught up. The final results of the 2006 NCAA basketball season and look at the tournament here. The tournament began with the play-in game, Mississippi Valley State beating American to become the last team in the field of 64. Look here in the Washington Regional. Number 1 Maryland took down Mississippi Valley State. It wasn't a blowout. They got by them 78-71 to move on. Vanderbilt much more easily able to get past Memphis 74-51. Wake Forest an 11-point win over Sacramento State. Villanova in a battle against Wofford, but they win it by 4. Huge upset here. The number 2 seed in the Washington Regional goes down, upset by number 15 South Alabama in a low-scoring game. South Alabama wins it 45-41 to move on to the next round. Massive upset there. Oregon, number 10 seed, 79-78, a 1-point victory over the defending national champions. Oregon takes down North Carolina to move on. Louisville 90-58 win over Cal State Fullerton. Oklahoma State 2-point win over Miami, Florida to move on to the next round. In the next round, Oklahoma State able to take down Louisville 64-50. The 6th seed moves on to the Sweet 16. And South Alabama, their Cinderella run continued to the Sweet 16, taking down Oregon 62-47. What a game there. What a win there for South Alabama. Stunning. Wake Forest, the 4 seed, they blow out Villanova 94-51, and the 1 seed Maryland 19-point win 69-50 over Vanderbilt to move on to the Sweet 16. In the Sweet 16, Maryland, their 1 seed, their run came to an end. Wake Forest getting the victory 87-71 to move on to the Elite 8. And this is where 15 seed South Alabama's Cinderella run came to an end. Blown out in the Sweet 16, Oklahoma State wins it by 40 to move on to the regional final, the Elite 8 matchup against Wake Forest, and Oklahoma State blows out Wake Forest there 84-55. Great run here for Oklahoma State, the 6th seed in the Washington Regional, heading to the Final Four. Look in the Atlanta Regional, the 1 seed Alabama. They were in a nail-biter in their first game. The 16 seed New Mexico State played neck and neck with them, but Alabama able to get a 2-point victory to move on to the next round. Illinois takes care of business against USC to move on, the 8th seed, no problem there. Gonzaga, who we beat in the West Coast Conference Championship, a 1-point nail-biting win against Florida Atlantic 75-74 to move on. Notre Dame, the 5 seed, 69-64 win over Harvard to move on. Arizona, the 2 seed, blowing out Delaware State to move on. Murray State, the 10 seed, takes down the 7 seed Cincinnati by 12. South Carolina, the 3 seed, takes care of Eastern Kentucky to move on to the next round, and Hofstra victorious over Charlotte to go on to the next round. In the next round, the 3 seed South Carolina, a 3-point win over 6 seed Hofstra to move on to the Sweet 16. And Murray State getting by Arizona by 2 points, 66-64. 10 seed Murray State moving on to the Sweet 16. Gonzaga gets a victory over Notre Dame 65-58. Gonzaga Sweet 16 bound. And Alabama, a 12-point victory over Illinois to move on to the Sweet 16. 1 seed Alabama versus 4 seed Gonzaga. Alabama gets the win 70-60. Getting by Gonzaga to move on to the Atlanta Regional Final, where they would take on South Carolina, who took care of Murray State 63-49. The Atlanta Regional Final, Alabama versus South Carolina. Alabama wins it by 1 point, 59-58, the final, to move on to the Final Four. Alabama began the Atlanta Regional with a nail-biting game, and they end it with a nail-biting game, both victories, moving on to the Final Four. In the Minneapolis Regional, the 1 seed Duke, they do not blow out Vermont, but they're able to get past them by 7 to move on. The 8 seed California, their season comes to an end as Arkansas gets a 3-point victory to move on to the next round. Kentucky gets a 13-point win over St. Francis of New York to move on. Manhattan had that 1-point victory over us. 5 seed Portland, heart-aching loss there. 12 seed Manhattan moves on. 2 seed Boston College, a 12-point win over Lamar. Kansas, the 10 seed, gets a 9-point win over 7 seed Syracuse. Indiana holds Illinois Chicago to under 40, gets the win there to move on. Iowa State, a 3-point win over Ohio State to move on to the next round. In the next round, Iowa State victorious over the 3 seed Indiana, so the 11 seed Iowa moves on to the Sweet 16 after a 64-48 win. Boston College 74, Kansas 61. The 2 seed Boston College moves on. Kentucky ends Manhattan's season. So after Manhattan had the nail-biting victory against us in the first round, they lose a nail-biting game, and they have a heart-aching end to their season, as well as they fall to the 4-seed Kentucky in the second round. Duke gets by Arkansas by 9 to move on to the Sweet 16. In the Sweet 16, Kentucky defeats Duke 86-80, the final score there. They move on to the Minneapolis Regional Final, where they would take on Boston College, who was able to get a 21-point win over Iowa State, ending the 11-seed season. Minneapolis Regional Final saw Kentucky defeating Boston College 76-68 to move on to the Final Four. The Oakland Regional, the 1 seed, Georgetown, takes care of business against Oakland, holds them under 40, gets a 23-point win to move on to the next round. Texas Tech, a 10-point win over Pittsburgh to move on. 4 seed, Providence, they were tested in their first round to get a 5-point win over Southern Illinois. 5 seed, Nevada, cruising over the 12 seed UNLV to move on. Connecticut, 83, Coastal Carolina, 59 in the first round. Texas A&M gets a 4-point win over 10 seed Washington. Texas takes care of business against Northern Illinois, winning by a dozen. And LSU gets a 2-point victory over the 11 seed George Washington to move on. In the next round, Texas gets a 3-point win over LSU, the 3 seed, moves on to the Sweet 16. Connecticut, the 2 seed, in the Oakland Regional, a 5-point game. They're able to get the victory over Texas A&M to move on. Providence, a 17-point victory over Nevada to continue their season. And Georgetown cruises over Texas Tech, winning by 24 to move to the Sweet 16. In the Sweet 16, Georgetown continued their run, taking care of business against Providence, winning by 19 to go to the regional final, where they would meet Texas, who blows out Connecticut 86-49. Go to the Elite 8 regional final here in the Oakland Regional, goes to Georgetown. They get a 12-point victory, 70-58, to go on to the Final Four. And now here is the Final Four. First matchup was the 6 seed Oklahoma State and the 1 seed Georgetown, and Georgetown punches their ticket to the national championship, winning 71-56 over Oklahoma State. They would move on to the national title game. 2 SEC teams, Alabama and Kentucky. Alabama, the 1 seed, able to get the victory by 22 points, taking care of business there, ending Kentucky's season rather comfortably. Alabama moved on to the national title game against Georgetown. 2 1 seeds met for the national title here, the 2006 season, and it was Crimson Tide's time to shine. Alabama winning their first ever college basketball national championship, and they do it comfortably in the national title game. 61-41 final score, I apologize. And Alabama, who had some close games earlier in the tournament, a couple blowout victories, a couple really solid wins in the Final Four and the national title game. Alabama national champions. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to all Final Four teams. To all the teams that made the NCAA tournament as well. Congratulations, all conference champions on a great 2006 season. We'll take one last look here at our season, recapping our year. Started things off the 2K Sports Classic tournament. Had a solid win against Georgia Southern, and then upset Texas Tech on their home court, winning it by 8 to move on. Went to Madison Square Garden, took on Florida, and that was a close game, but Florida pulling away in the end, winning it 84-71. Then we had our first home game of the season, winning at 22-point over UC Riverside. Good battle against Winthrop on the road, an 8-point win. And on the road against Charlotte, big challenge there, and Charlotte, they put up 94 points, they win it by 11. Then we were back at home, we bounced back, blowing out Long Beach State, huge victory there. Then Portland versus Portland State, we were able to get a hard-fought win, winning at 70-63. At home against Oregon State, a 10-point win there. And then on the road against Washington State, getting an 11-point victory to keep our winning streak going at 4. On the road against Oregon, we trailed by a huge margin in this one. We fought back, Fought till the very end, but just weren't quite able to make it. We ended up coming up a little bit short here. Oregon getting the victory and our winning streak at 4. And we were back at home, getting a win against UC Santa Barbara, a 10-point victory. And on the road against Cal Poly, this was a frustrating loss for sure. It felt like a game we really should have won. Felt like it could be like a make it or break it point of the season right before conference play, but we came together as a team and used that frustrating loss as fuel when we began West Coast Conference play, and we got on fire here. 13-point win on the road against Santa Clara to start things off 1-0. Hard-fought victory against St. Mary's, 5-point win, got us to 2-0. Got to 3-0 here after taking down Loyola Marymount by 7. Cruising against Pepperdine, get to 4-0 in conference play. Winning by 20 on the road against San Diego got us to 5-0. Blowing out San Francisco, a 27-point win. Continuing our streak here. A huge win on the road against Gonzaga. What a game this was. We get 77-72 to keep our winning streak going. And taking down St. Mary's on our home court, winning by 10. Taking down Santa Clara by 6. Winning streak did come to an end on our home court. Hard-fought game against Gonzaga. They were able to get the better of us the second time. Then we were able to bounce back. Really hard-fought win on the road against Pepperdine, winning it by 5. Taking down Loyola Marymount by 8 on the road. Blowing out San Francisco for the second time this season. And then getting ourselves an 11-point victory to finish off the regular season, taking down San Diego. So we felt really, really good, regular season champs going into the conference tournament. Had a shot at an at-large bid. Didn't want to leave any doubt. Got ourselves a real solid win here against St. Mary's in the quarterfinal. Absolute nail-biter, getting the buzzer beater at the end to win it, taking down San Diego 72-70. Underdogs on Gonzaga's home court, wearing our home uniforms. They were frustrated at that, having to wear their road uniforms, I'm sure, in front of their home fans. But we had to go in here. We really frustrated them. Their star player was visibly upset in this one, and we won ourselves the West Coast Conference Tournament Championship. That's the second time in program history. Went on to the NCAA tournament, had another nail-biting game. This time we just came up short there at the end, 1-point loss. Tough way to end the season, heart-aching loss to end the year, but so many positives, so many great wins, so much history here for the Portland Pilots in 2006. Nothing to hang our heads about, a lot to feel proud about. Let's take one last look here, stats-wise. Take one last look here at the 2006 Portland Pilots. Jameer Randall led with points here. Senior shooting guard number 3. Now look at Hollis Appleby, senior shooting guard 15. Sophomore power forward Demetrius Foreman, number 21. Number 4, senior point guard Joel Bauer. Number 41, junior center Keenan Linebaugh. Junior center Tyus Carroll, number 50. Freshman power forward number 32 Carson Hartnett. Freshman power forward number 30 Sean Leonard. Freshman shooting guard number 24 Felix Clausen. Freshman point guard number 11 Alex Sowers. Sophomore shooting guard number 23 Caleb McPherson. Sophomore point guard number 2 Akeem Everett. Vaughn Passner had a red shirt season for us. Look at all the stats here. That's it. That's all the stats. That's the 2006 Portland Pilots. Incredible season. Old Portland will live on in history. So many accomplishments here. So many exciting moments. And, probably the greatest season in program history. First time regular season champs. Big upset wins over Gonzaga, including in the West Coast Conference Tournament Championship game. Team that will live on in Portland basketball lore. One more time, let's fly. Let's go, Pilots.